Good morning, everybody. We hope you're doing well on this Monday morning. Welcome to our webinar on a really exciting new project about what really happens in the produce aisle. We appreciate you all being here. My name is Peter Zollo. I am one of the co-founders of Collaborata, the market research marketplace. Our aim is to get important research like the project we're discussing today funded. We do that in a number of ways, including bringing a group like all of you attending today together to launch such projects by sharing the ideas, the results, and the cost. Collaborata is based in Chicago, where we're covered in snow today. It looks beautiful here, and we're looking forward to below zero wind chills in the next few days. So with that said, let me warmly welcome you to today's webinar. Before we begin, just a few very quick housekeeping items. We've allotted a total of 30 minutes for today's session, and that includes both the presentation and Q&A. You'll see there's a chat feature on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. That's where you can go in and type your questions at any time today. So as a question pops up, please go ahead, jot it down. We will get to it in the last 10 minutes of our session today. And assuming everything works, we're also going to be sharing with you a recording of today's session that you in turn can then share with your other team members. So just email us to request it. Email us at info.com. So the purpose of today's webinar is twofold. First, we're going to share with you just a few preliminary insights about produce and consumers. Based on very deep experience our partner on this project, Cooper Roberts, has had to date. Second, we're going to introduce you to what I would say is a very innovative and very needed study that we're launching with Cooper Roberts, which is going to dive deeply into this topic area. And I'll tell you, as far as this study is concerned, we've already received a tremendous response from produce boards, brands, retailers, and others. So let me go ahead and without further ado, and let me introduce you to our speaker today, and that is Ken Roberts. He will be leading this research. He's been studying consumer behavior for almost 30 years. I guess, Ken, that makes you technically a non-millennial. We're going to be talking about millennials some today. I met Ken a couple of months ago at the Marketing Research Association corporate conference in San Francisco, where it was not snowy. He stood out to me probably, I think, more than anybody else at that conference as really being a researcher of particular insight, creativity, and what I think is almost the most important trait in a researcher, curiosity. And as it turns out, Ken has had a much distinguished career, which, by the way, continues at full speed. He is the president of Cooper Roberts Research, a past chairman of the Marketing Research Association, on the national leadership of the AMA, a board member of the Marketing Research Institute International. And I would say most relevant for today's purposes, he's led almost 100 produce studies today. That's a bit of a qualitative number. So I would say for those of you who are more slanted quantitatively, the exact number is 92. So Ken, let me now please hand this over to you.
Thank you, Peter, and good morning, everyone. So we were looking at what can we do in the produce aisle. We do a number of shop-alongs, and we have moved towards doing them with a mobile device. And they're still typically limited. You know, a traditional shop-along was limited to 50, maybe 100 people. With mobile devices, we've been jumping up to 200 or 300 people, but we wanted to do something with scale, and that's why we thought this crowdsourced project might make some sense to do. So we really want to get into the store and understand what's happening while they're in the store. Packaged goods industry is going through quite a change right now. There's this movement towards a clean, recognizable ingredients. They want a short ingredient list, nothing artificial. Some of the most successful brands' success is being driven by calling out what's not in the product. And that is just continuing to snowball and is probably going to become the norm in packaged goods. So we're wondering if that's going to affect the rest of the store. We also know from quite a bit of research that consumers claim they're They're paying attention to GMO. They want natural. They want local. They want organic. They want things that are good for the environment. But what they want and what they do might be something different. And we so far are seeing that this type of behavior appears to be similar across geography. And to our benefit, Pew just released a study. And in that study, being the time of the year it was, they looked at political party, they looked at age, they looked at income, they looked at geography, and their thought going into this that it was white college-educated moms that were on this bandwagon, and they found that wasn't true. That it really does cross age, income, political party, and even geography. They were having a hard time settling down, other than the typical pocket of things start on the West Coast and the Northeast and move their way into the Midwest eventually. So what we wanted to know is, do these concerns carry over to fresh produce? Do they behave the same? I had the advantage of doing this recently for all natural and environmentally good clean products, and we saw that behavior there because they didn't want toxic chemicals in their home. But what about produce? So does fresh elevate or does it alleviate their concerns here? Some other work we've done, we've seen that fresh gets that halo that it's fresh, so therefore it must be good. But we also see sometimes that people accept that packaged goods which have been processed are safer because they think some of the bad things have been taken out of there or something has been added to control for that. Most important for us to know here is, I believe all these things, but when I get to the store and I run through the checkout, do I buy that way, or did I switch and intend to buy organic lettuce, but I bought regular lettuce, or did I not have any organic intention, but I bought it because it looked good? So what's happening in the store? There's a lot of that type of behavior that we want to understand. And then we want to understand, how does it differ by channel? And in a bit here I'll show there's 3 key channels that we do want to look at. By geography, and by geography we'll look at the census breaks where we can, and again we typically do see some pockets on the West Coast and the Northeast, sometimes around Chicago, that differ from the rest of the country. And then we'll also want to look and see, is there a geographic difference on other variables, such as an urban-suburban rural definition, to see if they are behaving differently there. We did some work on composting and recycling and stuff like that, garbage, and we definitely saw that urban-suburban rural split on belief and behavior there was quite different. So we think it's going to happen in produce also. And then among millennials, and a real concern with millennials is they talk the talk on all of these good for them, good for the earth topics, such as we are addressing here, but when it comes to spending the money, they don't always follow through. We've seen this in 2 or 3 categories where they claim that's the only thing they would buy, absolutely, but you get into their home and you find out, nope, they bought the brand that really isn't what they're talking about. And it just gets down to what they can actually afford and their trade-offs in their allowance. What we're hoping to uncover, a little more deep dive on this, is the purchase tree decision. This one will be a bit of a challenge. We just did this on olive oil, and it was easy because they already planned on buying olive oil. So was it the size of the olive oil? Was it the growing region? Was it the bottle? Was it the price? Very easy to do. But here, we're going to probably take them down several paths. So we might take people down a citrus purchasing path. We might take them down a lettuce purchasing path, and just randomly assign people a few paths so we can see, is maybe is appearance driving the purchase in citrus, where price is driving the purchase in curly greens and lettuces and things like that. But as much as we can, we want to know, what did they decide first, what did they decide second, and so forth before they put something into their cart. We want to, again, know how this differs by product, and some tied to that will be, impact of in-store display, signage, and promotions, because we know they maybe already planned on buying bananas, but they didn't buy them because grapefruits look so much better and they switched that week, or something to that effect. So we want to understand the both good and bad. If there was a horrible looking display or product looked horrible, that might have prevented a purchase at the same time. Impulse purchase is really critical, especially for retailers. We'll know if they're buying it because they plan to. And if they plan to, is it something they always buy? They had a special recipe, saw it on sale, or what? But if it's an impulse, what was it that got them to buy that while it was in the store? Product switching, again, in this category, we don't see quite as much probably as we do in produce, but we want to know switching, like maybe I did plan on buying grapes and they were way overpriced, so I bought apples instead, or the grapes looked really bad and I bought apples instead. Lost opportunities, that's something that they planned on buying when they walked into the store, but they walked out without it. We want to know what it was and why, and then what are they going to do about it? Are they going to give that retailer the benefit and come back in a few days? Are they going to go to another store of that same retailer's? Are they going to did they buy something to substitute for it? Or are they just not going to bother to buy the product at the time? And then we want to understand the share of purchase by channel, and part of that is for us to be able to eventually weight this data since we're doing 3 key channels. We do understand we're leaving out some channels like club stores. We are leaving out the mom and pop and the farmers markets. We would be leaving out the Instacart, Peapods, the deliveries to the home, but we do want to get share of produce purchases coming from all these things, so that the 3 channels we are talking about, we can properly weight them to be representative of households' total produce purchase. And then tied to this, there will be a kickoff meeting with people who are sponsoring this study, and we really will want to get your input as to what's critical there. It will have to be a wish list, because if we have 10, 20 people with 20 different items, we just can't do an hour-long survey. But we're hoping to see some consensus, and we will have some questions on the best way to ask certain things, and want to see if we can get some consensus on that. So how are we going to do this? We work with a company called M4, which is a mobile panel. They are the largest all-mobile panel in the United States. They have over 1 million panel members. They gain about 2,500 members per week. Everybody is recruited, and they only do the surveys through a mobile device. Surveys obviously have to be mobile friendly. And we use what's called a native app, and that's literally, they're in the store, they will hear a ka-ching sound, and that says, you've got a survey opportunity, and they stop here, and hopefully we'll take the survey. We use geofencing to know that they're in the store, and as you've probably seen if you use Uber or you're even out shopping, geofencing's gotten very good. Used to be that geofencing would know that you were in the parking lot of a shopping mall, and I remember we wanted to know people that were dining in CK Pizza Kitchen, and found out they were actually in PF Chang's. That's what it was. But now it gets us right there, and it gets us in the store. We are not geofencing down to the produce section. There are ways to do that. If you're a box of cereal, you can have a trigger in the store to set that off, but with produce, we're not doing that. We will screen and make sure that they're in the produce section, and we will make sure that they provide a cash register receipt eventually showing a purchase there, so that we can prove that they were actually there. It's a semi-structured survey in the sense that we want it to be quant to get the hard numbers we need, but a little more qual to get the whys. And a big benefit to our whys is they don't have to type everything in. They can, or they can just hit a button and they can talk to their phone. Some people are not comfortable doing that, some are, but it's basically like they're having a conversation. We just capture that as a verbatim. Or they can take pictures, and that's really effective if they think a display looked great or a display looked awful. Or for another retailer, we saw the stocking boxes were all in the aisle and it was a mess, so very useful to have that way. And I've already mentioned the registered receipt just as proof that they were there. We plan on having 900 shoppers participate in the study, with 300 of them in traditional grocery, and these are stores such as Safeway, Kroger, Piggly Wiggly, Publix, Stop and Shop. 300 specialty, which will mostly be Whole Foods, Sprouts, Wild Oats. We traditionally do not put Trader Joe's in specialty. That is something we'd wanted to discuss in the kickoff call, but they're kind of a hybrid by themselves. and then 300 mass, which will primarily be Walmart and Target stores, and obviously only the ones that have grocery section. And then we're aiming for about 50% millennials, just because we do believe they're going to behave differently than everybody else, and we want a large enough sample by channel to read them that way. Geographically dispersed across the United States. This is all in English, but it is spread across the United States. And I can't say right now that we'll be in 900 unique stores, but I'd say we're probably going to be in 888 unique stores or whatever. We just finished one with 300 shops, and nobody wound up in the same store. So when you're spreading 900 shops across the United States, you get pretty good distribution that way. And then the data weighting, we do feel like we will probably need to do that because we are unnaturally forcing the 3 channels, and we're not addressing some other channels, and we're overstating millennials. So we will be doing some weighting at the total level just to make sure that that's okay. Deliverables, pretty standard report. You'll see an introduction, very simple language explaining what we did. The summary, key takeaways. We will pull as much audio and video into this as we can. We're going to look at the big picture for the total sample. Then we're going to deep dive into key groups, the channel, the geography, millennials. But we may find some other key groups in the kickoff call we want to look at, or it could be that we find key groups such as a health and wellness group that we want to do a deep dive in later. There will be a webinar to all sponsors, and you can attend that live, or it will be recorded for you to watch later. And again, I've mentioned this kickoff call. If you participate in this, this is your opportunity to have input into what we say, so it's really critical to be part of that kickoff call. Updates will be more, you'll have credentials to log into Collaborata. You'll just see we've gone to field, or we're out of field, and here's a tidbit that we've learned, or the countdown now, we're 5 days away from the report, something like that. I think with that, I'll turn things back over to Peter.
All right, thanks, Ken. So as Ken had mentioned, the way to get involved is to go to collaborata.com. Please register there. On the right side, what you'll see is one of the first pages you'll see, and it looks a bit like Kickstarter. That's, in fact, what we do is we kickstart research projects. You'll see we are looking for a total of 10 sponsors for this particular project. One has already been bought in advance. Thank you very much. So we've got plenty of you on the phone to hopefully buy up the other 9. This is the way you do it. So you will click on, if we actually go back here, as you can see, here's the project right there. If you click on that, it would bring you to a screen which asks you to become a sponsor. The co-funding price is $89.95, a bit of a retail price, which we thought was appropriate for this particular project. So this is essentially about a $100,000 project. Collaborata allows you to greatly reduce the cost of a project of particular scale. And what makes me so excited about this project is not only that, for me, all shop-alongs that I've worked on have been very qualitative, very much in depth, and that's what this one does, but they're doing it at scale. And that's why we're asking lots of you to join in. 900 shop-alongs is really quite a project for $9,000. So please join it. As Ken had said, there is a webinar that is included for everybody, but as incentive, for the first 2 of you who become sponsors, you can have a free in-person presentation. Ken will visit you. The only thing that will be billed additionally, if you live outside the Bay Area, would be travel expenses at cost. Something else that I think is quite a nice incentive, if you buy 2 shares, so $89.95 times 2, to me that would be approximately $18,000. You will also get 2 proprietary questions, so you'll get some additional input in the questionnaire. You'll get those results, so those could be branded questions, other questions that are of proprietary importance to you. Also, everybody, please invite your friends, others who you used to work with, or others within this industry to this. You'll see there's a button that looks just like this, refer to this project, If you click on that, that will generate an email and a unique URL which will track you back. You will receive a credit of up to 20% or 20% of their spend. You can either apply that to your purchase of this project, or you can request a check. Either way, as part of Collaborata, we want everybody to also have a financial stake. There are 35 days to go to get it funded. I'll suggest you don't wait that long. We'd love to get it started and fielded the early part of Q1. So that is all we have today for you, except for Q&A, and we're right on time. I'm seeing a bunch of questions, some we already captured from those in the waiting room. So Ken, why don't I go ahead and read these, and we'll let you, I think most of these are for you. Here's one that says, about mobile shop-alongs, Ken, how do you work with grocers who don't have consistently good connection in their stores?
First, hi, Karen. Thanks for the question. It's good to see you. It's been a while since we've worked together. That can be a problem. We don't find it to be a major problem with larger supermarkets. They usually have some kind of connection. It's just spotty in the store. As long as there's a connection, either the mobile or through the data plan, that the survey recognizes they're there and does give them the ka-ching alert, the survey then temporarily downloads onto their phone. They can complete the entire survey without any connection, and when they're back and have a connection, it will upload the survey to us.
Great. Another question, Ken, for retailers, is there an opportunity to cut the data by their particular store?
Possibly. And the reason for that is if you take a retailer competes in one of these arenas, so we're in traditional grocery, and you look at big chains like a Safeway or a Kroger or a Publix or Ad Hoc, 300 stores across the country does not get them a whole lot of stores that are actually under any of their banners. We will be able to look and see what we get by banner. There could be several options. We will say, yes, you've got enough across your banners. You can do some special reporting, or your banner's not covered, but your geography's covered. So maybe we don't have your exact stores, but we can cover you and your competitors in the state of California because we have enough people there. That would be custom reporting, so there's a little extra cost with that, but minimal compared to the cost of the overall project. A third thing is, if you absolutely want enough shoppers that are in your banners, you could purchase a augment sample that we would do the same survey and say we estimate we're going to get 50 people in your banners, that you would augment with another 100 or 150 people, something like that. That data is only shared with you. It's a low-cost way for you to get a larger sample that's readable in your stores. And then that would have custom reporting, because we would contrast your stores with how the channel overall is performing.
Ken, that ties into another question. Is there an opportunity for custom analysis or consulting based on our particular needs? So I guess the question is, even if they did not go with an augmented sample, but perhaps there's a particular category of produce or any other particular concerns they have, might you make available custom consulting or analysis?
That is possible. Again, it will depend on the base size. We don't want to promise it and come back and say, hey, guess what? You had 10 shoppers that are really who you want to talk to, so let's not waste your money on that. But if the samples are large enough, we will do that, and it could be customized based on the produce, it could be customized based on the retailer, a specific state or DMA, something to that effect.
Here's another question, Ken. This is, I think, a particularly important one based upon the category. Will you be repeating this study each season?
Obviously, it depends on the success of this study, but we do feel like it could be a 4 times a year study. We definitely feel like it's a twice a year study. We're going to be doing this kind of during the dormant produce stage, so to speak, and we wanted to do that because we're testing the methodology here in produce, so it's a good time to do it. But I also see a next wave maybe in late July or August, when the stores are overrun with fresh produce, local's much more abundant, competition from farmers markets and things like that's much more abundant. So I would see it in the long run be at least 2 times a year. If demand's there and enough justification for it, be 4 times a year.
I think I'm going to take one last question because I want to be really sensitive to ending this on time, and this seems like a good final question. What is procurement like? What are the terms? And do we have to pay money? What if it doesn't get funded? And the answer is there is no invoicing, there is no trading of money unless the project is fully funded. When you agree to the terms of Collaborata, you'll be able to see the agreement. Very simple. You will be billed at 80% at the time the study is funded, the other 20% at the time of delivery, both times net 30 days. If you have any questions, again, please email us about terms and conditions. We can make it really easy for you, info@collaborata.com. So we are right on time. Ken, thank you. That wraps up our session. Let me thank everybody for attending. Thank Ken for presenting. And please join us in sponsoring this important research. As Ken said, let's have this be a success. Let's continue it seasonally. There's really never been anything quite like this, and really sort of perfect for people joining together for a common purpose. So let's get it funded again. Any questions at all, we're happy to put you in touch with Ken. We're happy to help you in any way with Collaborata if you have never purchased a project yet on the platform. Again, just email us, info@collaborata.com. Everybody have a good Monday. I hope it's warmer where you are than we are. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.